The next game we are going to see is one of the evergreens of chess. The young Bobby Fischer in the late 50s played it white against black, being Fischer Reshevsky, a former world-class player.
White starts with e4. Black responded with c5.
This is the first game where we see the Sicilian defense. This is the most popular chess openings nowadays against the king-pawn start.
White continues with knight to f3.
Just like against the e5 answer, this is the most standard response to develop and control the center.
And black responds with knight to c6.
Black does the same, develops, controlling the center.
And white plays d4.
And again, that's the most standard move to gain presence even more in the center for white.
C takes d4.
This trade is usually automatic.
And white captures a pawn back with a knight. And here black plays g6.
This is the so-called accelerated dragon variation. Black has numerous other choices, developing the bishop on the other diagonal or the knight first, but let's just stay with this move for this game.
And white continues the development with knight to c3.
Again, very standard, good developing move.
Bishop g7.
With this bishop development, black right away attacks the white knight at d4, a second time.
White defends the knight with bishop to e3.
White accomplishes two things with this move: continues developing another minor piece as well as protect the knight.
Knight to f6.
So far both sides are doing the right thing, developing their minor pieces one by one.
White continues with bishop to c4.
And white developed the final minor piece, clearing the way to castle.
And black appropriately castles.
So far, everything on plan, both are doing the right thing.
Bishop to b3.
This is the best move in this position. There are some interesting tricks that actually Bobby Fischer as black developed. The natural move f3 that a lot of people play in this position would be a mistake, because the black queen quickly appears on b6 using the unprotected two pieces on e3 and b2. After this pawn is being attacked and when white protects it, black has some choices to create a discovery by either taking a pawn or moving to g4 and then ruin white's pawn structure. Of course, Bobby Fischer would know better as white, since he has all the experience from the black side of this position, not playing f3 and falling into that trap. The best move here is bishop b3, which he played.
Black plays knight to a5.
Well, this is the critical moment of the game. With this move, black breaks two opening rules. A, putting the knight on the edge of the board. B, moving the same piece a second time before completing development. The interesting part is that this mistake is not so obvious even to the top computers today. While we know this famous game and we know why it's not good, but even for the computer it takes some time until it realizes it.
White continues with e5.
Black's idea of coming here was to trying to trade the bishop for the knight, but white comes first.
Knight to e8.
This is an interesting moment. The black knight is under attack. Black could have tried making an intermediate move and trade the bishop, and only when white, let's say, captures back, then move the knight away. That would be wonderful. The problem, however, is that white does not need to take this knight. White has the better option of taking the other knight sacrificing this rook and then capturing the bishop, attacking the rook. And now if king takes pawn, then the queen takes the knight, and black will dearly miss the dark squared bishop along the long diagonal there. Or if black wants to make another intermediate move to get an extra pawn, white captures back with the knight, and after king takes pawn there is another cute move coming up. Bishop can capture the side pawn because of the upcoming fork, that if rook takes, then queen checks and wins the rook on a7 with a clear material advantage, and black cannot play b6 either and trying to trap the bishop that way because of the same queen d4 check, and then white gets the pawn on b6. Let's go back to the game situation after white attacked the knight with pawn moving to e5. Black moved the knight back to e8. This is the position, and the knight returned to e8. And this is the moment of the truth. I again recommend you take a moment and try to figure out what's the correct move here for white.
And now white plays a shocking move. Bishop takes f7 check.
This is a brilliant combination that leads to winning either black's queen or checkmate.
Black plays king takes f7.
Let's see quickly what would happen if black would take the bishop with the rook. Well, hopefully if you found the right answer, bishop takes pawn f7, then you would know what's the answer now, and that is to trap the black queen by attacking it with knight to e6, and if the pawn takes the knight, then the white queen captures the black queen. However, let's see why not king takes f7.
White plays knight to e6 anyway.
That's the amazing part, that white can still make this move, even though the black king can capture it.
Black captured the knight with d takes e6.
Let's just see why not with the king, since this is the second piece now that black captures. Now black is up a bishop and a knight. However, the king will be invited for a walk with queen d5 check, forcing the king out to the wild with king f5. And now the best move is forcing the king out even more with g4, sacrificing another pawn with the purpose to activate our sleeping rook in the corner. King takes pawn, and now rook check, and black cannot avoid checkmate in just a couple of moves. For example, if the king moves to h5, the checkmate comes from queen d1, and let's say king h4, queen g4, or if the king moved to h3, queen g2 comes, and again the same checkmate, and so on. So going back to the game, after knight e6, black did take the knight with the pawn, but that of course allows
Queen takes d8.
And white has decisive material advantage. White just gave up a bishop and a knight, and in return got a queen and a pawn. So that's a very significant gain, although the game went on for a number of more moves, but without much difficulties, white won the game. What happened in this game? Well, actually both sides played very good until the 8th move, when just one mistake basically cost Reshevsky the game. Well, maybe it makes you feel better. Even the most famous known players make mistakes sometimes and lose quickly.